So, as some of you have seen, I'm currently working on an unpopular opinions video. I got a few that were super close to each other about how unique magic names got localized. As I was doing run-throughs of that video, I realized I had a lot to say about this, so I decided to make it its own video. I've been mulling over how to do this video for a while. I'm well aware that while, yeah, I'm a blunt person, I also come off as blunt when I'm not trying to be. I don't want the people who sent those opinions in to feel like I'm singling them out. So I've decided I'm just going to paraphrase what they've said and add in some stuff I've seen around the fandom. Because while what they sent in is a very good indication of the attitudes about signature spells and the discourse around them, because of the point of this video, I felt like reading them word for word before explaining the whole situation might feel really mean and hurt their feelings. Right now in the fandom, as I'm sure some of you have seen, there's a conversation going around unique mahos and localization. For the most part, I've seen three camps: the ones who don't care, those who like them, and those who are frustrated about the names being quote-unquote changed. I think that last one is exacerbated because the guys are speaking English for their unique mahos, and the text and what they're saying doesn't line up all the time. And all those feelings are valid. There's a lot of contention around this topic. However, that being said, this whole thing is like the biggest miscommunication I have seen, and it's an understandable miscommunication. That's my bottom line. I don't want anyone feeling stupid about this whole thing. This is something I wasn't aware of until I really started digging and doing research because, while I knew it was there, I only thought that it was one or two cases and not the majority. I haven't seen anyone mention this, but the unique mahos have two names. While there absolutely are some names that did get changed, the reason the voice lines and the text don't match up all the time is because there's two names in the Japanese version and the English version only chose one name, because it's kind of impossible to include both. But to explain this, and before we get into talking about everyone's unique magic, I need to give a brief lesson on Japanese. As I'm sure most of you know, Japanese uses three writing systems. There's kanji, which are complex symbols that represent concepts. They usually have two or so ways to read them. Let's take this kanji as an example. It means big. It can be read as o or dai depending on a couple of things. This word is read as oki, but this word is read as daisuki. You don't need to know the rules on when to pronounce it as o or dai, you just need to know that it changes. Next we have hiragana, where every symbol makes up a sound in the Japanese language. When learning Japanese, this is what you start learning first. If you forget a kanji, it's not the end of the world because you can fall back on hiragana to spell the word. Going back to daisuki, I can write it as this and people will still know what I'm talking about. Although yeah, some hiragana characters are particles so they kind of do mean something, but they don't have individual meaning like kanji do. And finally, we have katakana. Like hiragana, each symbol represents a sound in Japanese. However, katakana is mostly used when writing loanwords from other languages. You can also use it for emphasis, but it's mostly used for foreign words. For example, a lot of car terminology in Japan is from British English, so you see a lot of katakana when reading about cars. All of the boys' names in Twist are also written in katakana. Although my name Mari can be Japanese, because I'm not Japanese, I use katakana when I write my name. And now that we've gone over the writing systems, let's talk about hiragana and kanji. So remember how I mentioned kanji can be read multiple ways? Well, in Japanese, there's a text formatting thingy, I don't know the technical term, but it's a formatting thing, called hiragana, where there'll be hiragana typed on top of kanji so people know how to say whatever kanji word that they used. This is common in things aimed toward kids who haven't memorized all the readings yet, but it's not just a thing for kids. Authors can use it for puns or play on words. You could just throw that bad boy in there, it's not necessarily for kids. You can just use it for other stuff too. Kanji, as far as I've read, isn't really used anymore, but it's the same sort of concept, except it's kanji and hiragana written over a foreign word to explain it to a Japanese audience and do the translation for them. When the characters in Twist do their signature spells, Toboso is basically doing this. We have the main line of text, which is written in kanji, but above that, we have another line written in katakana, and that's what the characters are actually saying. That's what the seiyus are voicing. And in most cases, it's not a translation of the kanji, it's something entirely different. So there's two names because these two lines don't normally mean the same thing. And now that we know that there's two names, let's move on to the meat of this video, which is going over all the unique mahos and discussing the differences between names. Okay, so, riddles is a direct translation. The hiragana says off with your head, he says off with your head out loud. The Japanese is kubi o hanedo, which is decapitate the head, decapitation, it's literally the same thing. So, trace is, The Hurigana says doodle suit. Trey says out loud in English, and the Hurigana is doodle suit. I have got on record multiple times saying, I don't know why it wasn't paint the roses. Like, initially, I don't get it. The Japanese is bada onudo, which is let's paint roses. I'm a clown. I'm a fucking clown. Putting the clown shoes on. Anyway, I feel like a complete idiot for not realizing that. But yeah, so they're two completely different names. I guess 3 technically because, you know, they decided to go with the Japanese phrase and they decided to turn it into paint the roses red, which is a slay. It is very much a slay. I'm sorry, I just feel so stupid that I didn't realize that. So Kate's in English is split card. The Japanese is Maichiru Tehura, which is fluttering cards, fluttering hand. I'm assuming they're saying it in the terms of cards because he says split card out loud. So 2 different names. Deuces is also like Trey's where the localization gave it a different name. The English is Bet the Limit. The localization changed it to Double Down. The Japanese is Shippei Gaeshi, which is tit for tat / retaliation. So, I live in a town with several casinos. We have a lot of, our tourism is like, it's not fully reliant on casinos, but like, it's definitely a draw. I don't know anything about gambling. I don't know anything about gambling, so I can't talk about Bet the Limit versus Double Down, because I just don't know anything about cards. Leona's is King's Roar. The Japanese is Oja no Hoko, which is literally King's Roar. So like the exact same thing, like riddles. Ruggies is Laugh With Me. The Japanese is Gusha no Koshin, which is Fool's March / Fool's Parade. I kind of like that one better, but that's just me. So 2 different names. Jax is Unleash the Beast. The Japanese, I'm so sorry. I would like to make a formal apology to the entire nation of Japan and anyone of Japanese descent because I'm about to butcher this. So the Japanese is Tsukiyo o Yabudo Toboe, which is Hell Breaking the Moonlit Night, roughly. I kind of wish the localization had gone with this, but I get Unleash the Beast, you know? But it is a case of 2 different names. One of them sounds cool as hell, though, not gonna lie. Anyway, Azul says in English, it's a deal. The Japanese is Kogane o Keiyakusho, which is gold contract. They're different. Floyd's is Bind the Heart in English. He says it out loud. The Japanese is Maki Sukuo, which is like prehensile tail, coiling tail, something along those lines. It's not related to the heart. Jade's is Shock the Heart. The Japanese is Kaji Ritoru. She? I know what this kanji means. I don't know what reading to use. I'm going to fully admit to that. I don't know what reading to use. So if you know, please tell me because I don't know. But anyway, that kanji means teeth. The whole phrase means gnawing teeth. It is not remotely close to Shock the Heart. Kalim's is Oasis Maker. The Japanese is Karenai Megumi, which is Never Withering Blessing. I know that sounds clunky, but that's literally what it is. It's like withering, not blessing, you know? So 2 different things. Jamil's is like Trey and Deuce, where the English name did get changed up for the localization. So he says in English Snake Whisper, that's what the Hurigana says, but Ian localizers changed this to Snake Charmer, which makes more sense to, you know, native English speakers. The Japanese is Hebi no Izanai, which is Snake's Invitation, which I really love that. I really love that. I think that sounds really cool. Like, Snake Charmer does make more sense, but like, Snake's Invitation? I love that. I love it. But anyway, so Vil says out loud in English, Fairest One of All. That's the Hurigana. The Japanese is Utsukushi Hana no Doko, which is like poisonous, beautiful flower. Beautiful, poisonous flower. Either way. 2 completely different things. Both of them pretty fucking cool, though. So Rooks is actually a very interesting one. So he says in English, and the Hurigana is I see you. The Japanese is Haremare Toroku Yumiya, which is bow and arrow that reaches the end. And normally, I think you guys can kind of see the pattern. Like, the localizers usually just take the English name. However, they decided to take the Japanese name and change it into Arrow Afar, which I think 1 fits the Japanese in spirit very well. 2, I just really like Arrow Afar. I think it sounds really cool. I will say, I See You sounds a lot creepier, which does fit Rook. He is a little creepy. But Arrow Afar just, That is a good one. That's a good one. So Eppels is the only case of this as of now. This might change. But he says out loud, sleep kiss. That's what the hiragana says. The Japanese is shinku no kajitsu, which is like deep crimson deep crimson fruit. That's what it means. And so the localizers decided to kind of smush these together, and so the localized term is crimson slumber, which, oh my god, it's so cool. Sleep kiss is really cutesy and stuff, and crimson slumber sounds badass, so I really like that change, and also I think it just sounds really cool. But yeah, like that, those are all very vastly different things, and I think that's really cool. So Irias is gate to underworld. The Japanese is Akadete Meikai no Tobida. It should have been Yume no Tobida in reference to the iconic Muse song. So this translates to opened door to the underworld. That is really hard to say in English. Wow. Anyway, so basically the same thing, and then chapter 7 spoilers. If you want to skip this, just skip like 20 seconds, I don't know. So Malleus's Unique Maho, he says out loud, May of Maleficence. And the kanji that's used is shukuhuku, which means blessing or celebration. Very different things. Very different things. And, honestly, I love that for him. Okay, hi, editor me. It's so weird doing editor me when I have my model up. Anyway, so I wrote this script a while ago, and in the meantime, we have gotten, the third part of chapter 7, which actually debuted Silver's Unique Maho. So the English for it that he, says out loud is meet in a dream. However, the Japanese translated is, let's share the same dream. I'm too lazy to go up and get my iPad, so I'm not gonna tell you what it actually is in Japanese. I'm too lazy to go get my iPad right now, but anyway, it means let's dream the same dream, so that's also a thing. Very close to each other, but yeah. This is something that has literally gotten lost in translation. English has nothing like hiragana or hirikanji, so how the hell will we get both names at once outside of voice lines? How would we get an explanation in-game and have it flow well? We just can't without adding things. Localization is a tricky job, and this situation is arguably not as bad as it could be. This is a Disney game, so the localizers are probably told to go with Disney references over anything else. If this wasn't and the Unique Maho still had 2 different names to choose from, I can imagine the localizers would be struggling more with what to pick. If you want to argue what's more canon or critique what the localizers chose, that's fair, although I'm not personally interested in doing so. But like I said in the beginning, I haven't seen anyone talking about this, so I wanted to bring it up because I think this is really important context to the situation going on, and it needs to be considered. I wholeheartedly think this whole conversation as it stands right now is a huge miscommunication. Or at least that's the best word I can think of to describe this. The 2 names obviously didn't get translated into the game because there's no way to do that, and obviously, I can read Japanese. I read the Japanese version when I play it, and I still gloss over the Unique Mahos. I can't speak for other people, but the moment I hear English, my brain switches off. No reading, only listening comprehension. The only reason I even knew about some of them not matching in the first place, which was actually Jaden Floyd's, is because I did translations for chapter 3, and I actually, sat down and, read. Not just read, I, read. And, this is something I think is really, really easy to overlook. Maybe other people are always reading more carefully than I am. But honestly, I gloss over this all of the time. There's definitely some mistranslations in the English version, and I'm not gonna tackle those because are those a problem? Yeah, but that's not why we're here today. We're here for signature spells, and I want to add this, knowledge to the conversation? Will this change things? High key, I hope so. I know a lot of people are upset about the names being quote-unquote changed, so I hope this puts your mind at ease a little bit. It's not the localizers pulling stuff out of nowhere, they're just picking between 2 names that are both present in the Japanese version. That's all I really have to add to this conversation. I don't really plan on doing other translation or language comparisons, but if you guys want more of that content, let me know. It's not on the table right now, but that doesn't mean it's a hard no or anything. I just don't have anything planned. Once again, thank you everyone for watching my videos. If you would like to support me beyond liking and subscribing and all of that, I have a Patreon and I also have channel memberships. If you like live streaming, I live stream over on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And yeah, bye! Shameless plug over.